Welcome everyone to the Red Raider Report. Week number 2 in the books, Don. A 35-19 win over the Nevada Wolfpack. You know, a game where Tech's defense has earned a lovely little label in the national media of bend, don't break.
Oh man, I hate that term.
It's cliche.
But if you prefer that term, then Saturday was a good example of that, because between the 20s, Nevada moved the ball successfully pretty much all night. But then once they got inside the 20, or I guess more specifically inside the 26, which they were 8 times, or inside the 30, which they were 10 times, then Texas defense just they made play after play after play after play and rose up. And I think it's a result of I think it's kind of the experience level that they have, a combination of the talent that they have, but also the experience, because I'm not sure that a year, 2 years, 3 years ago that they would have made all those defensive stops that they got.
You know, Don, and two of the biggest plays in that game, the interception by Richard Jones, and then the point where the game looked like it was going to switch in a hurry when Colin Kaepernick apparently went in for a touchdown. Charbonnet had actually stripped the ball out and recovered on a fumble. The review actually proved that, but those 2 plays were monstrous in that game.
Right, and the Richard Jones interception came off a batted pass that Brandon Cisse had, and there's an example there of the depth that this team has, because that was a play that was 1st and 10 at the Tech 14-yard line, and Tech had its second-team defensive line in. You had Richard Jones and Cisse at the tackles, and you had Sandy Riley and McKinner-Dixon in at an end, so they had a full second-team defensive front end at the 14-yard line. Cisse bats the pass, and Jones picks it off. That stopped one drive, and I think play of the game there was the other one that you referred to. 14-9 in the third quarter. Nevada fans. It was a small, it's a small stadium, 29,000 seats. There are 24, 25,000 people there, but they all had those thunder sticks, and
those things should be banned.
They were really into it. They were really into it. Their team kept them gave them a lot to cheer about. And so 14-9 third quarter, crowd's buzzing, and they're down there at the 3-yard line. Kaepernick goes across, and the stadium celebrates. And if you didn't have binoculars and weren't paying really close attention, it was hard to see. But Charbonnet had pulled the ball out just as Kaepernick had cut around him. Ball drop. You see clearly on the replay that the ball is down by his knee as he goes into the end zone, and Charbonnet falls on at the goal line. And again, I think that was the turning point of the game right there.
And one of the questions I think a lot of people have is, Jamar Wall, he gives up another big play on a long pass play. Is that a real big concern right now for the Red Raiders?
Not necessarily, I don't think. In the Eastern Washington game, he bid on a fake to a shorter route. And then the Nevada game the other night, Marco Mitchell's a terrific receiver, guy 6'4", 210 pounds, had their running game gets all the attention, but that's the guy who had a really big year last year with 53 catches. So I don't think that's typical of Jamar Wall to get beaten like that a couple of weeks in a row. If it continues to happen, obviously it will be, but I think for now you say, okay, he gave up a couple of big plays, and then you don't expect much more of that.
Right. And on the offensive side, Graham Harrell had probably one of the roughest halves of his Texas Tech career in that first half against Nevada.
He had probably one of the roughest games of his Tech career, I think. He salvaged it, I think, with a good fourth quarter, the touchdown pass to Crabtree, and then after that, they went on an 84-yard drive, which he made a couple of key plays there, particularly a third down pass to Tremaine Swindle, if I remember correctly. It was really unusual because I haven't seen Graham Harrell his timing with his receivers being as off as it was on Saturday night, with no real obvious explanation, such as, a couple of years ago they played down TCU, and it was a 12-3 game, and the offense completely was just totally dominated by TCU's defense. But that was a case where you had fast guys on defense, blitzing coming at him, getting a lot of pressure on him. that wasn't necessarily the case on Saturday night. There were times that he had open receivers and just missed them, and other times when, particularly on some plays down the end zone and the red zone that they've normally had a lot of success with, like a pass to Crabtree and a little out route or flag route that Eric Morris runs. There were examples of that in the game Saturday night where it looked like they were there, and Graham just missed Crabtree, or in the case of a pass to Morris, he just threw the ball away.
Right, but you talk about making up for some of that, two monstrous plays to Mike Crabtree. The 82-yard touchdown pass and the other long pass to set up the touchdown. It's a nice luxury to have an All-American to bail you out in certain situations where if you go to him, he's going to make an effort to get up and catch the football.
Yeah, and he's not getting the volume of passes in the first two games. It sounds kind of unusual to say, but here's a guy in Crabtree who, in the opener, he has 7 catches, 93 yards. In the second game, he has 7 catches for 158 yards, and he might be the only receiver in America who can have that stat line. And folks say, "What's wrong with Crabtree?"
Exactly.
He didn't have 15 catches and 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the good thing is, of course, other receivers are continuing to pick it up. But the way Nevada played defense, they kept middle linebacker in the middle and a big imposing safety who's 6'4", 220 pounds, paying a real close attention to guys like Eric Morrison, Detroit, and Lewis. So those routes weren't open this week the way they were against Eastern Washington. And you had some of the other, so they were trying to go outside a little bit more.
Right. Don, talk about after 2 weeks of performances where I think people could nitpick a lot of things out of them and find some negative things, where does this team stand going into SMU this Saturday at Jones Stadium?
They still need that probably, I don't know if I hate the term statement game, but I guess I think they kind of would like to have a statement game because, you've won by 25 points and 19 points, and folks are a little bit disgruntled because you haven't just pounded somebody yet. I think SMU is the team that they probably can pound because June Jones is a very good football coach, but it's not going to happen in year one in with a team that won only one game last year. So I think Tech right now should be able to come out against the Mustangs and kind of have a bigger victory than they've had the last couple of weeks.
Definitely. And speaking of SMU, the Mustangs under head coach June Jones, we're going to be right back with Adam Zubinich. We're going to talk about the Ponies and what they bring to Lubbock on Saturday night.